Hey, it's me, the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Hey, check out my new tag team, baby, Monty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, Jimmy, don't forget to tell them about Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Well, you know what, I would, but you already did it.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and Pharaoh, bro.
Monty and the Pharaoh. The Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we gonna rock it.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
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 And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, cut music. When you want the best in professional wrestling, Long Island, there's only one place you're going to get it, right here.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Duh.
Hey! Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare! And you're watching the #1 show on Long Island with Monty and the Pharaoh.
I'm having a wonderful time with Monty and the Pharaoh, and I'm going to put him in a crossface chicken, and he's going to go down right now! Yeah!
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, filmed out of Indie Music TV here out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island. And this, for ourselves, is an honor to have not probably. Well, before I even say this.
Oh, man. Make this count, brother.
This is probably the biggest moment in the history of the show.
Yeah.
This gentleman has meant so much to the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And to these two individuals just sitting at this table. But before I address this gentleman, I want to ask him, can we call you Bob Backlund or do we call you Mr. Backlund?
You call me Bob Backlund.
You got it.
Nice.
So I will say this.
Nice.
This is our honor to have the greatest all-time wrestler in the history of professional wrestling, Bob Backlund. Bob, thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that introduction. But you know, it's I'm in the business, and there's a lot of tough guys in there, and they you know, there's a level that's sometimes higher and higher and higher to get to that point. But you know,
well, I would tell you, sir,
I love what I do.
From this man here and this man here, you are the level. You are the man. You raised us on professional wrestling, sir.
Yeah.
And regardless how your feelings are, we love you. And thank you so much for what you've done for us personally and the professional wrestling world. This is a very important moment for us, and I'm sure for the fans who are watching you right now.
Well, back in the day, Vince McMahon Sr. was looking for All-American boy to take over for Bruno Sammartino. And he looked all over the world. And he met a lot of people, and he saw a lot of people that he had working with him that do certain things. And then he saw me, and he called the promoters and asked who would be the best guy to be the All-American boy for my company. And every one of them said me. Because they knew I was reliable. They know I would show up. They know I'd outwork everybody. And some of those people that were working for Vince Sr. were partying all the time. And I did the partying when I was 15 years old. I got over it. But that's how it started. And I want to be a role model. I want to do the right type of things. I want to help people. I love doing what I'm doing.
I want to thank you personally because as the sport has, and I call it a sport, and I always will, as the sport has gone on over the years, the entertainment factor of it has gone way over the top, but the person who made me believe in this sport from day one was you. Because you, to me, were legitimate, and you were legitimate, and you brought sport to sports entertainment, and I have to thank you for that.
I thank you a lot for that, too. I'm very proud of your words that came out of your mouth. Because I like wrestling. I love wrestling. And, you know, it's a business, but still, it's not easy. And you can get hurt pretty easy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one thing, too. I never was hurt in the wrestling business. And because I protected myself. We learned when I was practicing, trying to be a wrestler, we learned things to do when we were taking somebody down and slamming them on the mat. And if you don't do that, you're going to hurt yourself and your opponent. So there's a big art that goes on throughout a match when you're at the arenas or whether you're watching it on TV.
So, Bob, let's go back a little bit. You talk about Vince McMahon Sr. looking for the All-American boy. Here you are coming from Princeton, Minnesota. Quite different than New York City, right? Because we're going to call the WWF at that time New York City.
Absolutely.
Sure. How were you scared? I know about you being North Dakota State and what a great amateur wrestler you were.
Yes.
But were you scared to come to the WWF?
Culture shock?
You know, I never knew what was going to happen, but I was never scared. I was never worried. I just took it one day at a time, did things on the way, and did a little more the next day. I made Vince Sr. recognize what I was doing. And he recognized what the other guys didn't do. And I think the only reason he picked me is because he could believe in me. He could trust me. But I didn't worry. I got into business out in Minnesota. A guy named Eddie Sharkey trained me in a gym in Minneapolis. And he saw me working out there, and he came over to me and asked me if I would want to go out and be a professional wrestler. And I said I sure would. And I signed up to his training school for professional wrestling, and we went on. And finally, he gave me the phone number of all the wrestling promoters, and I called them and I sent a resume and a picture. I asked them. I asked the people, can you use me in your business? Can you give me a start? And the first one that I called was Bret Hart's father. And Bret Hart's father was a big wheel in Canada in the business.
Sure.
And I was talking to, he was talking to me. And you know what? We were at a payphone, and I was putting money in the phone, and I never got to ask him, can I come up and maybe have you beat me up in his museum, in the gym, in his basement?
You ran out of quarters?
And it went dead. The phone went dead. And I lost him.
Wow.
But I put another nickel in. It wouldn't take it. So I hung up and I went another way.
Wow.
The next day I called Leroy McGurk in Tri-City Wrestling. He was a national champion in when he was in college. He liked me because of that, and he gave me a date to go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and have my first match. And on my first match, I left home with a green Chevrolet Impala and $20 in my pocket.
Oh, boy.
And I got down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was looking around. I was at the building, and I went out and had a match, and I did pretty good, but I made some mistakes, which you have to make those mistakes to learn. Anyway, Leroy McGurk gave me a envelope. I went out in the car and I opened it. There was $5 in it.
Oh my God.
And I had 29 cents left from the $20 that I had in my pocket. And I was wondering how I'm going to eat. And I was wondering how I was going to get through. But I wasn't going to give up.
There you go.
I didn't give up. They were testing me. They wanted to see how bad I wanted to be a wrestler. And I started to love the business. And I started getting a little better. The Funks is a big name in wrestling. They saw me. They brought me to their territory, and I got out of the gutter where I was in the car. I was sleeping in the trunk most of the time. But I got out of the gutter there, and they liked me, and Terry he knew everybody in the country that was doing it. And then they sent me to Florida, and they were going to call and have me come back. They never called, and I never went back.
There you go.
And then it got the news got up to Vince Sr., and that's where it started.
Had you ever watched any pro wrestling before getting into pro wrestling?
Very little. My mom was a big fan, but I didn't watch a lot of it.
Okay.
But there's a big art. When you're in the ring, you want to have the people down a level as far as being energetic, and start down in that low level, and you want to build where you get them into the match more and more and more and more, and then you have a great big comeback at the end. And you know what? You do that, and you're going to make money. They're going to come back and see you again on the return match.
Sure.
And they certainly did for
They
you.
sure
That's
did for
sure.
years and years and years, for sure. How was the first conversation with Vince Sr.? Can you tell us about the first time you spoke to Vince Sr.?
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
And he just asked me a bunch of questions, and he said, "You're going to be my man." It's in my book.
Absolutely. And by the way,
There's things in my book
if anyone has not read this book, and I'd be highly surprised if anyone didn't. In fact, I could tell you, Bob, a couple of summers ago, I sat at the beach and read this book cover to cover.
Yes.
And it's incredible. It is, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's basically your career or your life in wrestling from start to finish. You cover almost every match with every opponent.
Yeah.
It's incredible, this book.
Yeah.
The name of the book is Backlund, From All-American Boy to Professional Wrestling's World Champion.
I'm glad you said that, because I want people to know that I'm not making it up when I tell them about that book. I'm not getting cocky but that's what it is.
If you are a pro wrestling fan,
Yeah.
this is exactly how a book should be written. The way you explain match by match and the things that went on, and you actually go into your opponents about how they were as a person and as a wrestler. I mean, for fans out there, I was a Jesse Ventura guy and I was an Adrian Adonis guy. You cover them in this book and your matches with them. And I remember them like I was watching it back then, the way it's written.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's very detailed. And then I kind of like the 18 principles that would help you in life in the back of the book. And the first one is the golden rule. And if you don't know what the golden rule is, it means treat people how you want to be treated. And then there's one about getting your kids into sports so they can grow and get stronger and live a longer life.
Amen.
Exercising is a road to getting better. Sitting down in a chair all day and not moving, and you're going to shrink down sometime sooner or later.
I better have all the chairs removed from my house.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm not. Bob, at the time you're going to the biggest federation here on the East Coast, you're going to New York City, and you're faced with filling the shoes of what many look at.
The greatest wrestler ever.
You're filling the shoes of Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
As you come in there, was this intimidating to you? Did you think about it like, oh my God, I have to fill the shoes of Bruno Sammartino? How much pressure was that for you? Or
it wasn't any pressure at all. I believed in myself. I believed what I was doing, and I believed that I was doing it right.
Oh, you were.
And
That's for sure.
You were.
I liked Bruno Sammartino a lot, and but I got the honor to get in his position and run with it. And Vince McMahon Sr. was very behind me.
Sure.
He didn't listen to the guys when they start talking, why didn't you pick him? Why didn't you pick us? We've been in your company for so long. And he had his reason, and he stuck with me. And it was nice to be able to have a boss that's going to do everything that he needs to have done for his guy that's working for him. And I'll never forget him. And he was a great person, and he had a lot of energy, and he had a great business. and he wanted it to grow and grow and grow.
On the subject of guys who we've heard were against the idea of having you become champion, you defeated superstar Billy Graham. I'm not sure if I got the date nailed, but I know I think it's February of 1978.
Pretty close.
You know, if I'm not mistaken. How was your relationship with Superstar Graham? Did he resist the idea of giving the belt up to you behind the scenes?
Oh yeah. He didn't want to do that at all. You know, he didn't want to do it at all. But you know, it was because of himself. In the business, you don't do things for you. You do things for the business and the match. You can't go in there and think about, I'm going to look good in this. You're going to have to share that. You're going to have to get your opponent over so you can draw more money and do a better job. There's no playing around in there, and no trying to take, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get this guy and tear him apart.
Did he resent you? Did he treat you, wrong during any of this?
He didn't want to do anything with it, but he knew he couldn't do anything else as far as beating me.
Right.
I'd get him in a bear hug, and he's supposed to be strong. I'd get him in a bear hug, and I was standing up in the air. I got my hand squeezed behind my back, and I pick him up, and I bring him down right to the mat on his shoulders, and he's in the pinning position. And then I let him be there for a little bit, and I pick him back up. And he can't do that to me.
Yeah.
I did it to him.
That's right.
There you go.
So I didn't look as strong, but I believe inside I have some strength.
Well, we'll discuss that because I have an interesting comment to speak to you about. But Vince McMahon Sr. has a great reputation to be a man of his word.
Yeah.
You also worked for Vince Jr. when he took over the company. Can you tell me the differences between the two?
Ooh.
Well, the biggest difference is you can trust Vince McMahon Sr., but you can't trust Vince McMahon Jr. And I can say that because I got the belt one time, and he told me that I was going to keep the belt for a year and drop it back to Bret Hart. 3 days later, I'm in Madison Square Garden, and Diesel, he told me that Diesel's going to take the belt because somebody else left the business, and I need him to have it. So he beat me in 9 seconds and took the belt. And I'm looking forward to going in for a year and helping and giving the belt back to Bret.
Right.
It really was something that I wanted to do, and I never got to do that.
Wow.
But you still did business, though.
Yeah.
He did what he...
And Vince has a hard time doing something and then not being able to control that person.
Did you have any words with Junior after this sudden turn of events with the belt? Did you say anything to him like, come on, man?
No.
Really?
Nothing.
He just did.
But he, one time he wanted me to turn into a bad guy, and I did turn into a bad guy, but I wanted to. I had it all planned out. But he says to me, geez, why don't you turn into... I said, I got a daughter, and she's going to start school next year, and I don't want to hurt her problems or hurt her feelings or have people laugh at her and scream at her because her dad's a bad guy. He walked around a little bit in the back room. He came over to me and says, well, what about the money? And I said to him, my daughter's more important than the money. I don't care about that. I'm not doing it. And I walked out. And he likes to have it where you do what I tell you to do or you're not here.
Understood.
And that, my friend, is a
and that's all
move.
In the book. Most of it's in the book.
Absolutely.
I'm not lying. I'm not stretching the point. I'm just telling you how it was.
Bob, over your storied career, you have worked with a countless list of characters that are held in such high regard over the years. But I want to ask you, because you were around during a very special time when managers meant something. Can you tell me any thoughts or memories on Captain Lou Albano, the Grand Wizard, and let's complete the trifecta, Classy Freddie Blassie?
Well, all the managers were, they were tied to Vince Sr.
Okay.
And he would tell them what to do, and they would do it. They'd tell them who they were going to manage. Or they tried to figure out how Jimmy Snuka would sit with Captain Lou Albano, how they would fit together, or the Wizard, and they worked on that pretty hard. But the managers, are a big part of the business, and a lot of times they go in the ring and wrestle because of what Snooker did to him, or Captain Lou Albano did to him. He started stealing his money in some way or another. So but the managers are kind of an important part of the business.
Did you ever
In a
want
lot
to
of the
be like,
territories.
if you had turned heel? Let's just fantasize for a second. If you had turned heel, of those three, which one would you have liked to have been paired up with? I'm just playing fantasy wrestling right now.
If I turned into a bad guy,
Back in those days,
yeah. Well, I turned into a bad guy, and I don't think I kind of liked being on my own.
right, right.
And I wasn't I didn't. I liked being alone. I was doing something and doing the talking, and you don't want somebody else doing the talking for you.
Sure.
You didn't talk, but when I was a baby face, I say, I was very humble and I couldn't do a good promo. When I became Mr. Backlund,
Right, later.
I built up an attitude with the talking, and then my discourse got a lot better, and I could yell and scream just like everybody else,
Sure.
and tell them, "Hey, we're gonna have fun tonight, if you like it or not."
How'd you feel about Arnold Skoland being paired up? I think it was important to have Arnold Skoland in your corner as a
That
face
was
in
important. That was
in
important.
those early days.
I tell you, that's important because he was there, and he a lot of times some people did some things they shouldn't have been doing.
Sure.
And he took care of it.
He got in there, right?
Yeah.
He did something
No,
to
I
assist
agree.
you.
I agree with that.
There you go.
But still, to tell all the people that are out there in your audience, I loved every day I was in. I couldn't wait to get to an arena, and I couldn't wait to get home to go play with our daughter in the snow. I wanted her to know she had a dad.
There you go.
And the business was part of my life. It was my life.
Bob, we recently, unfortunately, lost wrestling great Pat Patterson. One thing we go back to in our early days is you had a 4 consecutive match program at the Cardinal with Pat Patterson. Any memories of the program and of Pat, of course, passing?
Oh yeah, big memories. Pat Patterson was he's been in the business. He built a match while he was going in there, and he's the only man in the world that ever went 4 times in a row in Madison Square Garden.
There you go.
And when we got done with the people, they were just out of it as far as excited and happiness and wanting to have another war. They didn't want it to end. And then Vince Sr. is very obvious of that. He's out there listening. He said, "We'll have it again then." And they announced the match for the next show. And there we go again. 4 times in a row. It was fantastic. And he was a real big artist in the match as far as building it. You start out real slow, you do something, you get broke down again, and you do it again. And each time you do that, the people get louder and louder and louder because they want him to beat me up, or I want to beat him up. And he goes out and creates a match, and has an ending that they possibly might not like. He's going to win. Boom. And he's going to get the title next time, they're saying. And that's the ball game.
That's the ball game.
But
4 matches is unheard of back then. 4 matches at the Garden. That's
4 matches at the Garden.
That's unheard of.
I mean, Jesse was in and out. 1 match.
Yeah, that's right.
Boy, was he mad.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, you took him out too quick.
You took him out like
you
that.
took him out too quick. I guess he couldn't work with you though. He was a
Kurt
talented.
Patterson was pretty high up in the business.
Sure.
And, he helped Vince Jr. on some things. So he did it right in the ring. He did it right in the ring. It wasn't about him. It was about the match. And you learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I enjoyed every match.
Nice.
We had some pretty long matches out of that 4.
You obviously had a relationship with Andre the Giant. Can you give us any stories on Andre?
To me, he liked people that weren't swearing and weren't the drugs and this and that.
Okay.
He stayed away from that, and but he could drink 100 bottles of beer in
liked to
one
drink.
night. And he was like, go after it. And,
Did he ever try to take you out on a night on the town? Because I'm not sure if the 18 rules of Bob Backlund involve 100 bottles of beer.
No, I would be with him. I would be with him, and I'd leave him early. I said, I'm going home.
I'd leave him.
I'd leave him early,
Okay.
and then I'd go home, and he would come up and say to me, how come you left so early? I said, well, I got to get up the next day, and I got to work out in the morning.
Okay.
And if you want to come with me and work out with me in the morning, then I'll stay with you at night in the club.
Fair.
And he said, I'm not going to do that.
I didn't think he would. I did not think he would.
But he had a sense of humor, and he was a good man for the business.